CMPS 294, Intro to HTML, Part 2.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Intro to HTML from Computer Science 294. My name is Matthew Gill, MG to all of you. Please check me out at mg@sclu.edu for any questions you might have. So when we last left off, we went through and talked about some of the example and basic pieces of HTML, including HTML tags for head, title, body, the headings, line break, paragraphs, pre-formatted, and entities. And then we ended on sort of this this example of using block quotes, strong, underlines, and emphasis tags. And what we're going to do is we're going to finish the rest of the basic HTML presentation in this video. So let's go ahead and get started. If you haven't already, go ahead. Don't do that. If you haven't already, go ahead and open up your brackets and go ahead and start a live coding session. This is, remember, where we're going to put all of our HTML, and I'll just go ahead and write some stuff there. Example HTML. And contrary to last time, I'm not going to be typing the or copy and pasting everything in. I'm going to be typing it out from scratch. So this might be a little bit longer of a video, but at the same time, live coding won't break on me, and I'll explain a little bit more just kind of inherently because I'll be typing it out. So go ahead and structure that really quickly. Okay, cool. And typically what we want to do is we want to cascade that and just make it a little look nicer. There we go. All right, cool. So you can see that live coding is now working as intended. Cool. Let's go back to the presentation and start it off. All right. So the interesting thing, sort of that we used for structure in HTML, or that we used to use for structure, was the table syntax, the table tag, and that was just open table and then /table. And then within that table container, we would use different tags to denote rows, headers, and then cells that are just for normal data using tr, th, and td with their accompanying closing tags, which, again, tables used to be a way of separating and structuring data so that you could load separate pieces of information and break it up. Some was even used to sort of structure the size and the orientation of certain pieces of data or pieces of content of a web page. Now, since then, that's sort of been replaced by different other containers that allow us a lot more sort of latitude to do what we want. We're going to talk about that, I think, either in the end of this presentation or at the beginning or middle of our advanced HTML scenario presentation. So we're going to look at tables specifically as just structuring content, displaying tabular data. So this is some example of first name, last name, favorite color. Let's go back to our example, and this might be slightly different because I'm doing all of it from memory, but we're going to create table, and we're going to create our first row. Now, everything inside this is going to be defining our initial thing. So this is going to be table header. We're going to do that because that's going to allow us to get a specific header tag at the very top. And remember, that's th. So we're going to do first name. And we can see it's already kind of painting it out. First name, th. We're going to do last name, and then th, favorite color. And we see that it's already painted through those. Now, notice we don't see any border or anything right now. Let's add another row. And this is the second row. We can see that the live sort of code is already sort of predicting where we're going to go with this. So we're going to use TD because it's just table data. The first one is going to be, let's just say Matt, TD, Gill, and then let's say red. Now, if we try to put in another cell, we see that it lets us do this. It lets us select or lets us create additional cells to sort of create a jagged table. We don't want to do that because it looks bad, but you could do that. And then just for the sake of adding more data, let's just go ahead and say not TD, TR. And let's add 3 more just to give us some information. Let's say that this is Will Wheaton, and his favorite color, I'm betting, is going to be blue, let's just say. All right, so we see that we've got a nice little table structure, you know, right here. It looks, it's not the best thing in the world, but it does the job. I mean, it tabular, it structures tabular data. I want to make one real quick change here. I'm going to say style, and then I'm going to say border 1 pixel. I think that's going to work. Maybe not. Maybe that's the wrong. Maybe it's equal. 1 pixel black. I can't remember my styles just yet, so we're gonna wait on that. But that's why it hasn't done anything with that. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. Okay, so there, that's good. All right, we can see that from an example. Bob Roberts likes orange, Tiny Rick likes blue, same as what we have there. Okay, moving on, and again, this is basic information right now, so ignore what you already know and then learn what you don't. Let's talk about links and images. Whenever we want to put a link, which is literally just text or an image or some content that will point to more content, more pages, a download, a file, an image to download, a separate sort of, piece of content, or an anchor to any other point on that page or another page. And by anchor, I mean, you see this frequently on Wikipedia where you click on sort of the top, one of the table of contents links, and it brings you to a scroll point on that page. That's referred to as a page anchor, and it sort of shows us that while when we have the tag, which is A, and then that's the link tag A, and then space href is the reference link, the URL that we're going to link to. In between the A tag and the closing A tag, anything in between that is going to be a clickable, navigable sort of link to that content. As far as images are concerned, let's actually, before we do that, let's look at that. So let's go ahead and take this table out. Let's just get rid of it. So for a link, I'm just going to say ahref equal, I'm going to say Google just because, and we're going to fully form this, www.google.com, and I'm going to say click here to go to Google. And notice it already knows that this is a sort of a link. It underlines it. There's specific styling to these links. And if I click on this, it says cannot get to Google. I bet if I did something like http://Google, and then went back, and then clicked on it, now we go to Google. Google UK because I'm using the VPN. So that's the basic stuff behind that. Now what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to get a picture of a lion. That one works. And I'm going to copy the picture of this lion. I'm going to try to copy the picture of this lion. Let's do this. SELU Roomy. This is going to Roomite. There we go. That's fine. All right. So I've got this image, and I've copied it, and we're going to go back to our live code section. There we go. Cool. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that there. And the reason I'm doing that right now is because we're going to use this JPEG in a minute to show us images. So images display images. There's nothing special there. And these are one of those tags where you do not need a closing image tag. You open it up with img for image, and then you give it, amongst other things, at least a source, src equals the URL to the image. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to link to an image. So Let's go back here, and if I didn't completely screw up, image equals, or image src equals, I'm going to connect that, and I'm going to close that, and I'm going to close that too. And it looks like our live coding thing sort of died. That's fine, we'll spin it back up. It doesn't look like it's liking that. Let's try to force it. Image source equals, let's try to make sure that it's good. No, it looks like it's, there we go. Okay. So image source, sometimes you gotta do that. You gotta, close it out and you gotta start over. So source equals, and then I'm gonna just paste that and close it. And we're gonna see that Rumi is, I'm gonna move that down a little bit because he's a little big, but Rumi is there as an image. We've displayed that image, and we can type things above it, above, and we'll do a line break, and then we'll do another line break below. So that's sort of that. And it's neat because I think that's what the next slide's going to say. That's just a little slightly different Rumi, but we can actually make the image clickable by putting an A tag around the image. So instead of just having it like that, what we can do is before the image tag we say A, and then let's just say href equals, and I'll close that, and I'll delete this A tag that I put in there. Let's go ahead and say http://selu.edu, and then at the very end we're going to go ahead and do /A. And if I click on Rumi now, it's going to take me to southeastern.edu or selu.edu. Oh, that's nice. It even tells you the browser's canceled live code. So anything in between this A tag and that A tag is going to be clickable and sort of reference this URL. So there's that. Let's go ahead and start that back up. And this was just a way of me doing that. So, okay, this is the fun, or one of the fun parts of the class, because whenever I started doing web development, and I don't do a lot of it, but when I do it, it's largely a copy paste from Google sort of experience, mainly because I didn't understand fundamentals of why we break things out, why we use HTML for some things, CSS for other things, and how to sort of connect those all together. Now, again, whenever I started doing web development, the web wasn't as developed as it is now. We didn't have nice frameworks. We didn't have nice sort of all-in-one frameworks like Foundation and Bootstrap, things like that. So things are significantly different now, but the concepts never changed. So we're going to talk a little bit about the concepts, specifically what sort of HTML was designed for. Originally, HTML was designed for simply showing the data, showing the content, not necessarily styling the content. But you can do it. We're going to look at some HTML styles right now, but later, we're going to say it right now, later, we want to use CSS, and we want to use CSS separate from HTML, connected but separate. So styles, it's a way to expressively style any of your HTML content, but that's really difficult with just bare bones HTML. So for instance, in the previous example, we wanted to center the image and the link and all the stuff that we had on the page. So it used to be, and it probably will still work, it used to be if you wanted to center things, you would simply say center, and it looks like it's going to work. I bet it's fine, but that's only because it's a relative, yeah, so it centered it. It centered it on the page. But this is not the way you want to do it. You do not want to use a center tag. Some people say, why do you not want to use a center tag? It's because they're trying to phase this out, and just because Chrome will go ahead and look at it, it doesn't mean that everything will look at it and render it the same way. They're trying to phase it out, they're trying to move on, and they want people to use CSS. And that's really the only way. Now notice it says it's not supported in HTML5. Supported does not mean it doesn't work. It means that when it stops working, you will have to recode everything, so might as well just do it with CSS. Now CSS, or HTML styling rather, looks like this. It is the tag, and then H or H1 or H2, or in this case body. I have this example down here, and then you have whatever the property or the style equals, and then whatever the property is. So the property is going to be a CSS property, and the value is going to be a CSS value. A property would be something like background-color, color, border, something like that. And then the value would be any applicable value. For colors, it's green, red, an RGB value, and hex or whatever. And then semicolon. Now, I didn't put a semicolon here because there was only one, but if you put a semicolon, you can put multiple styles there. Now, these are all inline styles. By inline style, I mean they're in line with the tag. We aren't doing anything special. We don't have our style separate at all, and eventually we're going to look at that, but right now they're all in line with the tag. So if we do text-align center, let's go ahead and do that. Let's structure this a little bit differently. So instead of just having this be the structure that we're working with, let's go ahead and put the entire thing inside of a paragraph. That's going to make it a little bit easier for us to do things. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this text just so that that's all we're working with. So notice it's not aligned, it is inside the paragraph. We can see that right here, and we see that the paragraph takes up the entire width of the screen, or of our screen at least. So what we're going to do is we're going to say style equals, and then I'm going to say text align and then center. And notice how it just jumped to the center. I'll put that semicolon in there. Now, how do I know to use text align? I Googled it. I figured out, based off of some CSS documentation, what I needed to make this work, to make text align, put things in the center, or to make anything that I put in there in the center. So if I write something, if I say test, and then I put that underneath there, test is also centered. That's kind of small, but test is centered, this is centered, everything is exactly centered. And text align, because it's a CSS property and a CSS value, it will continue to work, into long into HTML5, HTML6, whatever we're going next to. Take that out really, because I like Rumi jumping in the air. He's so happy. For instance, if we wanted to do the background color, I could very easily do background. I put that that semicolon. I'll do a space, just make it nice. Background dash color, and then we'll do red. And notice the entire background color of that P became red. We're going to take that out because it looks terrible, but you get the idea that we can do multiple styles in there. Now, that one's pretty easy. It moves things to the center. If we wanted to make it centered horizontal and vertical, I'm not going to do it because it is a little bit to mess with. But this would be the code. Instead of just text align center, we'd have to change the position to absolute, and we'd have to set the top as 50, the left as 50, and then transform and translate the X and the Y positions back 50% on the entire page. So that's dumb, but it's how it works. It's just the way that we deal with things like that. Mainly because horizontal center it's centering it within the center of sort of its positioning system, right? So we're going to get to that a little bit more in the framework and in Bootstrap and Foundation. I think we're going to get to that a little more in the CSS presentations. But for right now, just understand that like centering things widthwise, horizontally, not that bad. Text align, center, cool. It'll even center things relative to the container that it's in. So if we did that inside of a table, and we had a paragraph tag inside of a table row or a table data cell, it would have centered it in the middle of that actual cell instead of centering the entire table or whatever. So it does sort of inherit the 100% working width of whatever tag it is in. But as you can see, like vertical centering is a little bit of a different monster, but it does work. And it's all not pixel based. I mean, this is based off of the actual window that we have. So some common style properties are color, background, border, margin, position, width, and height. and font. And notice I have JFGI. That stands for just Google it. The F's silent, I guess. Just Google it, because you won't know what you need to use. You need to know what you want it to do, and then you need to be able to sort of phrase that in a certain in a nice way. You know, CSS space center text vertically, and it'll tell you how to do it. Center text, add special border, whatever. And we can go ahead and we can apply, you know, border is an easy one. We can go ahead and say P style, and then right here, border, spell correctly, border 1 pixel. I don't know if it's actually working. No. 1 pixel black. Can't remember the actual tags there, so here's what I'm going to do. Border HTML style, and then I'm going to go, oh, there we go, border, so it's going to be 1 pixel black solid, and then I think that's commas maybe between it. No? Okay, well, we're actually going to read it then. CSS border style, so border dash style, border style dotted. That's a little more than we wanted. CSS borders. I have borders on all sides. As you can see, there's clearly a lot of different things. So yeah, that's maybe what we would want to do. We'd want to say something like border style solid. And then this is just to show it's totally okay to Google. It's what you do sometimes. And then border width, let's say 2 pixels. Now we go back to our example HTML. Yeah, now we see that we've got, you know, our border width 5, 10, 20, lots of border. Which, you know, that can give us a interesting effect if we wanted it, and we can do, instead of solid, it could be something like dashed. So, and it's totally fine that I Googled that. we're not gonna leave that open, but all right. So before we go, these are very common, but these aren't necessarily going to, or not every style property is going to be common and functional for every tag. There are some styles that are specific to other tags than others, than some tags. So just be aware of that. You'll need to, again, like there will be certain things that you'll recognize that happen all the time. It's a pattern. Just look out for it. Okay, let's talk about lists. So there are 3 types of lists in HTML. There's the ordered list, the unordered list, and the description list. So items in lists must exist within the list tag. So you know, li, or and those are list items, but it can also be description tags, or descriptive sort of tags, or descriptive data for description lists. It looks similar to this. So we have an open UL for an unordered list and a closing UL for an unordered list, and inside it we have several list items. Very similar for ordered list. We have our open OL tag for our ordered list and our close OL tag for our ordered list, and then several list item tags in that. For our description list, it's a little different, right? We've got our description list opener, the DL, and then we've got a description term and then descriptive data. And I'm not going to code these because it's sort of dumb. We're going to just go to the next slide, and it's going to have some examples of these. So these are ordered and unordered lists. Very simple, very easy. We can see that the ordered list has 1, 2, and 3, and the unordered list just has bullets. And with styles, we can change what these are. We can change that these are Roman numerals or ABC, capital ABC, lowercase ABC, things like that. As far as nesting lists, you can totally nest lists inside of things. So notice we have a nested list. We have an ordered list nested inside one of the list items for an unordered list, which is kind of neat. Now, when we were talking about description lists, notice I didn't give any examples yet. That's because they are a little different. They're used to structure terms and the descriptions of those terms. So DT, the term that you're going to describe, your descriptive term, and then DD, that's the term's description. They can also be nested in style and everything. When you see what they look like, it's going to be a little different. So I picked 3 Cartoon Network sort of things. Notice DL, and then the title of the cartoon or the title of the show is going to be in the DT tag, and then the short little copy and pasted Wikipedia description is going to be in the DD tag. So let's go ahead and I close it out there. Let's see how it looks. It doesn't look particularly that like great, but understand that you can still style everything. You can style each of the DTs, the DDs, the DL as a whole. You can style any of that. So it's not something that has to look like just text, you know, a text block with tabs, with indentions. Everything about that can change with styles. And a little bit later, we're going to, not in this presentation, but a little bit later in another presentation, we're going to start messing around with styles pretty hard. And it's going to be nice because all of a sudden things are going to start coming together. In fact, that's the end of the presentation. We're going to look at, let's see, you know what, hold on. Let me see if I can, let me get the page source or the frame source. Let me get this real quick. This is actually how I sort of debug things. Come on, close it out. Hopefully it's not super poorly. We're going to inspect the element and we're going to see exactly what's going on right here. Oh, we're not going to do that. That's crazy. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to exit this and we are going to copy and paste this big giant segment. And we are going to go back to our HTML. And it's going to break whenever I do this, but we're going to do that. Oh, it didn't break. Cool. It just looks terrible. So let's do this. DL, that's good. It looks pretty good. Okay, so if I was to do something like DL, I can put style in there, and let's say I'm going to put background color for the entire thing. Background color equals black. All right, not what we want, right? Clearly not what we want. We can do, say, style for the DT style. Let's do color, and let's call it yellow. Notice now we're starting to get somewhere. Now I'm going to copy and paste that because we want sort of the same style. We don't necessarily have to, but we're going to in this case. So we're going to do that. And then let's change the style for this guy. Let's do color white, just because it'll be easy to see. Now all of a sudden we're starting to get a little bit more expression with our, and again it's rudimentary right now, but we're starting to lay down some groundwork. So now we've got individual, nice, separate sort of styling for things. So if we wanted to, let's do this. Let's do font. I'm going to use this up here just to kind of, well, no, I'm not. I was hoping I could make use of the CSS font style. There we go. So yeah, we can see CSS fonts. Thanks W3 Schools. We can see something like maybe we want to font style italic. Let's do that. I bet that'll be cool. So let's change the style here to font style italic. There we go. So now we're starting to get a little bit better with this. So now we're getting a little more expressive, which is nice. You know, it's nice. This is easy to read, and it might not look that great right now because I'm terrible with colors. But this doesn't have to be yellow either. So background color, I think if we do like pound, and then this represents red, green, and then blue. So I think 0, 0, and we wanted the background to be blue. All blue, 100% blue. Purple would be, or I'm sorry, fuchsia. And this is in hex from 00 to FF. I would recommend looking up a hex to RGB or whatever converter to get that. But okay, well, look, hey, this is the end of the intro to HTML. I've kept it long enough, so not bad. Half an hour, little discussion on this. Look to Moodle because we're probably going to have some sort of little micro assignment or a little thing for that. And then just get prepared for the advanced HTML section. This was just super basic. It's supposed to sort of explain and start to, I guess, build a framework around or build a foundation around what HTML, looks like. This shouldn't scare anyone. The styles shouldn't scare anyone because we understand, we get its game now. We understand how it's going to work or what it's going to do or how it needs to be. So shouldn't be a big deal. It's again, it's going to be all right. We're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff. So, my name's MG. Check me out. Send me an email if you have any questions, mg@selu.edu. And until then, I will either see you in class, I will see you online, I will see you in my office, and have a good one.